topic is off limits. We want to answer your questions about business, life, and everything in between. If you have a question for us, send it to ask@beckandliz.com. That is ask@beckandliz.com. So, Elizabeth, the question today is around this idea of happiness. I just found it so interesting that Kelsey Ackman of College Hunks made being happy a priority. So can you give me your thoughts on that? Is it really a priority, and why is it a priority?
Well, I think it's interesting because we were talking before we went on the air that she thinks about it a lot. She every time, she's so positive and so energetic and so upbeat. And she says, it's not all sunshine and roses. I know that, but every time that happens, I try to think, what can I learn from this? This is just getting me to the next step, and what I'm going to do, what makes me happy. And she made that life decision to change careers because it made her happier to do something in franchising than it did to be a lawyer, in the private sector. So I think that it is important. And I think that when you have that attitude, and that's what I've been trying to adopt this year with my little tornado of joy, is to find the joy in the crap, basically. Because it's been a very difficult year for all of us. And we've had some personal difficulties with, child custody and different things. And so finding that joy sometimes in the midst of feeling pummeled by life around us, I think it takes a big effort. I think you do. And I think what I learned from her is that it seems to be something that's always churning in her mind. Like, how am I going to choose to look at this? Am I going to choose to look at this as a lesson to get me to the next step? Or am I going to choose to look at this as something that's going to, push me down? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I thought it was fascinating that it is, like you said, top of mind for her. Does this make me happy? Will this make me happy? It's top of mind for her. And I don't know if it's a generational thing, because I don't remember reading anywhere or hearing anywhere that I had any right to be happy.
That's so
right?
funny.
I read and learned that I have a right to work hard and make a good living and to contribute. In fact, not only do I have a right to that, but I am obligated to do those things. But I don't recall ever somebody asking me, does this make you happy? Are you happy? It just never crosses my mind. And so I wonder if this is generational. I'm a baby boomer. She's a young woman where happiness has become a greater focus than maybe it was in my generation. It's just a thought. I don't know.
That's so interesting, because I couldn't tell you what kind of discussions we had about happiness. I mean, we were always told we could be anything we wanted to be or do anything we wanted to do. But I don't know that it was in the context of happiness. I'm going to have to think about it. And now I want to go around asking people. I want to ask my parents, like, was that your thing? I mean, did y'all talk about that growing up? Or I doubt it. I don't see that happening. And, my ex-husband's mother, he was the youngest, the seventh of 8. So his mother was older than my parents, and she grew up Depression era. So, she did things like save tinfoil and save, Ziploc bags and wash them out and reuse them. And I don't think happiness was a huge part of her experience for lots of reasons, but I also don't think that was in her mindset really. So I think it is very interesting how you prioritize that in the way that you live your life. I mean, would you say that in general, you're a happy person? You're always pretty optimistic and positive.
Hey, I got you fooled, girl. So I think I am naturally happy, but it's not in my thought processes at all. Contribution is, and because contribution for me is tied into the more I contribute, the more I can impact, the more I can help others, I get joy and happiness from that. But I don't ask myself or think about, what are some additional ways I could be happy. It just never crosses my mind, right? But our Constitution says we have a right to pursue happiness, and seems like maybe
then I think we should.
We do.
Well, and I think in a time like this, which is really not happened in our lifetimes, where with pandemic and being isolated and economic ups and downs and political strife everywhere, I think that we're all feeling the heaviness of that at different times. And I have found myself having to, do physical things to just relieve stress because I hold it all in my body in different ways. And the whole tornado of joy thing came, it's been a struggle of a year. And personally, I've had a struggle for a few years. And because I think I'm generally a happy person, like my baseline is pretty happy. But so much of it, it's hard to maintain that when you've got these outside forces trying to make you unhappy. So I think that at different times and in phases of life, you probably have to focus on it more. I think if you're just trucking along and things are going okay, your baseline is what it is. I'm a basically happy person. And in these times of difficulty, I think sometimes you have to make it more of a priority in your mind and in your day and in your life, and do the things that keep you healthy, both physically and mentally. So maybe it's kind of a sliding scale thing. Like you think about it when you have to, when you're struggling to get it.
Yeah, but that brings up a whole nother topic, because you said tornado of joy, and then we're talking happiness,
right?
Because joy is a state of mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where happiness, as you pointed out, oftentimes is situational, depending on the financial situation or a health situation or relational situation. So outside influences can somewhat affect our happiness, but that state of joy is not dependent, at least this is my opinion, based on circumstances. We can be joyful in a pandemic. We can be joyful.
Right.
So I think the less reactive we are to situations, that does, it or he or that doesn't make me happy. I am, as you pointed out, a happy person. And these things just happen to be happening, but they should not be affecting our overall peace and well-being and sense of joy. So,
yeah. One of my favorite quotes from Steel Magnolias is when, I think it's Dolly Parton says, laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. So even and that's at a funeral. So you can find joy even at a funeral. I mean, you can, have those moments where the levity brings you out of something painful or something. So it's an interesting time. And I think it's definitely an interesting conversation. We could probably talk about it more and more.
And we should. And if anyone has any thoughts or opinions on happiness versus joy, and how you keep in top of mind this pursuit of happiness and how it's affecting or not affecting you, we would love to hear it. And for now, of course, we got to wrap up the Ask Beck and Liz. We thank you for joining us today, where passion and purpose collide and profits are made and relationships are forged. This is Beck and Liz signing off and wishing you another purpose-filled and profitable week.